We're going to talk about 5 reasons why entrepreneur couples drift apart.
Being an entrepreneur is hard. So most important part of being an entrepreneur is leading your family, leading your wife, leading your kids, because we got to make sure that we watch out for the patterns that makes us drift apart. Otherwise, we're going to lose half our business. So in this episode, we're going to talk about what happens for every single entrepreneur and why we drift apart. Let's begin.
Welcome to Ignite Your Passion podcast. My name is Vivian Villacis.
My name is Raul Villacis, and in this podcast, we're going to help you ignite your passion in your business, in your marriage, and in your life.
Welcome to Ignite Your Passion podcast. My name is Vivian Villacis.
I know you had to watch it again, right? Because we were previously
Got Money
and Sex. So it takes us a while to say Ignite Your Passion podcast. So the topic today is...
Ooh, it's a good one. It's a Valentine's Day, but it's not. We're not going to keep it just Valentine's, but we're going to talk about 5 things why entrepreneur couples drift apart.
I don't think it's fitting that we're doing this podcast on Valentine's Day, because Valentine's Day is probably the most stressful day for a lot of entrepreneurs, because we usually forget. We usually last minute like, oh shit, this Valentine's Day. I got to get the flowers, I got to get the chocolates, I got to get the cards. But that's the game of being an entrepreneur. Sometimes we're so busy about doing everything else that we put our relationship as the last thing.
You are right about that. I think, in society, it just puts such a weight into like the things that you need to do, what it needs to look like. And if you don't do that, then you feel like if you're playing that comparison game, it's like, well, what do you have planned for me? And I think for a long time for us, and not to say that you need to compare, not to say like this is what works. We're just sharing like our hearts, and this is how we live life. And Raul and I have been married for 25 years, and we sometimes don't do things the same way that everybody does, right? So like my chiropractor today was asking me, he was like, so what are you going to do for Valentine's Day? Like, what are you guys going to do tomorrow? What do you have planned? And I'm like, you know what, Dr. Mitch, like we really have come away from just focusing on that one day, and we try to do little things that have this compound effect, because I know how busy Raul could be. And that's just another stressor on his life. And also like, we don't want to be there when like everybody's out there. Not to say that we don't like to, but it's just like, okay, why can't we do that every other day?
But I think that we've come in stages, because I remember our first Valentine's, the first couple of years of Valentine's Day, man, I had to go all out. It was like I had to like make sure I do everything to impress you. Because at the beginning of the stages of a relationship, you have to impress. So if you're watching this and this is just the first couple of years, man, you have to go all out on Valentine's Day. That is a must as a man, to be able to show love and appreciation, especially on Valentine's Day. But as we progress through the years, we realize that we're not bound to just one day. And I think the mistake that I made before was that I always only appreciated you birthday, anniversaries, or show you appreciation, birthday, anniversaries, Valentine's Day, and I will fuck off the entire year, right? So I think a lot of men, once you understand that, not just in the birthdays, not on holidays, not on Valentine's Day, like every single week we have a ritual that we have a date night.
Right.
And every single week, it's not like we celebrate Valentine's Day every single week, but now we've come to a place where we're feeding each other so much on a weekly basis that when Valentine's comes along, yeah, we could do something extra, but you're not, you don't need that appreciation, because I show you appreciation during the week.
And that's kind of like one of the reasons. So we talked about like, we're going to give you 5 reasons why couples drift apart, especially the entrepreneur ones, because you guys are a different breed. Like, sometimes I feel like there's not enough of us women that understand what you're going through, and maybe this could give a little bit of alignment to that. But I think one of the reasons why couples drift apart, and I think you hit it dead on, you don't do what you used to do at the beginning, and I think that's something that I really appreciate about you, is that through the years, you've come to really know like how to fill up my love tank. And you are the romantic type, and you don't have to really wait till my anniversary or till Valentine's Day to really fill that part in me. And I love that about you, because I think, don't get me wrong, I appreciate the flowers, I appreciate the chocolates, everything you give me. But thinking back, what really fills up that love tank for me is when I go away and you write this little notes and I find them in the most random places. And I'm like, wow, he took that time to put in this place to think of me at that time, because you knew I was going to find it. And I think that's something like, if you do those little things throughout your relationship, and this is something that Tony Robbins says all the time, and it's always rings so true to me. It's like, if you do the little things at the beginning, you will never have an end. And I think that's what I appreciate the most about you, that you haven't forgotten those little things. And if you have forgotten, you come back to them, because you know that it fills me up.
And I think as entrepreneurs, we have to be mindful that the number one customer that we have is our partner. And then when I made that switch and I flipped the mentality of how to market to you, how to sell you, how to continue to keep the spice, to continue to keep the adventure, because otherwise it gets boring. Right. Same thing in business. If you don't take care of your clients, you're going to be out of business. If you don't innovate, if you don't market to your clients, you're going to be out of business. Yeah. And I think if entrepreneurs understand that if at the beginning, the woman that you wanted to date, she was your customer, and you wanted to close the deal. You wanted to close it, so you will do anything. You will market. You will, send notes. You will send emails, voicemails. I remember back in those days, we used to even have mixtapes.
Yes.
I did a mixtape for you because I was trying to impress you and try to get you to go out with me.
Yeah.
So I think those are the little things as entrepreneurs. If we do the things that we did for a customer at the beginning, if we treat our wife or partner as a customer, then it's never going to end.
Yes. Another thing that we wrote down as a number 2 is that sometimes work for an entrepreneur as yourself, it just takes such a priority on the list. And sometimes I feel like it's not even from a place like that work means everything. It's just that work takes such a big energy. It just takes so much out of you that you need to allocate that time for work. And it takes a priority. And I think if we're not mindful, we don't have that awareness of like, okay, how much time am I really putting into work? And how much time am I putting into my relationship? If you look at those two things, sometimes they're off balance. And that's why a lot of the times when you turn around and you're like, oh my gosh, like I've built such an empire. And then I turn around and it's like, there's nobody left. Because you haven't taken the time to really gift that to your spouse, to your lover, to your queen, to your kids, to everyone that really matters the most.
And I think the mistake that we make as entrepreneurs is we think that the more time that we put in our business, eventually we're going to have time. Like, it's only temporary. Like, I need to work 100 hours this week, babe, because I need to do this. And then the next week, we go into deficit. And the next week, we're going to deficit. So we're constantly getting into debt with our quality time with a partner. I think I read a book one time that says, like, we're borrowing time from the future as entrepreneurs in a relationship if we don't put attention to it. So one of the things that we started doing is quality time, right? And for entrepreneurs, we could do more with less. Like the average guy needs to probably take vacation, takes a weekends off to spend it with life. 1 hour of quality time. I know that, for you, your love language is quality time. That's so right. If I give you in a daily basis an hour of quality time, which a lot of men probably think like an hour is a lot, Raul, I can't do an hour. Well, start with 15 minutes. Yeah. Start with 10 minutes. Start somewhere, then you start stacking up how much time can you give your partner.
And not every time you give me a whole hour, just,
Well, the intention is there, but we could do more with less.
Yes.
So the 15 minutes sometimes works.
Yes, the 15-minute times works, and it's the increments, right? It's like the quality of time that you give your spouse, and I think that's really important, because sometimes in the day you feel like, okay, well, I don't have a whole hour. I don't want to spend a whole hour with you. That's just being honest, right? Like if you're in a long-term relationships, time is so precious that sometimes we don't have enough time. But if you give to yourself those 10, 15 minutes of that undivided attention, quality time, without having your cell phone in front of you, without just like, okay, like I'm going to give you quality time, but I'm also going to be with my cell phone. I would really say, like, put that cell phone down and you'll see like how the quality of the time changes. And this is something that our mentor talks a lot about. She has a great book. Her name is Esther Perel. We went to see her. And in her talk, she was talking about how we're in this era of an artificial intimacy. And that's the challenge about it, right? Like the artificial part, like don't get consumed with everything else that's calling your attention, whether it's a TV, whether it's the cell phone, whether it's whatever technology that's around you, like you need to have that presence between your couples. And I think that makes such a difference for me. And I know, like, if, again, it comes back to this place of like, it fills me up, like that's exactly what I needed. Even though work is there, you're here with me right now.
One of the things that I hate when I go to restaurants, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what it is, but I hate when families, not just couples, when families are in their phones and they're eating in their phones. Like you have the little kids with the iPads, you have the husband with a phone,
era.
we have like the wife, and nobody's talking to each other.
Yeah.
Why are you going to a restaurant? Like this is pretending that you have quality time.
Yeah.
The reality is that if you want to have intimate connection with your partner, you need to get rid of your distractions.
Yeah.
Like distractions are your phone, distractions are TV, distractions are maybe thinking about your business. Like what can you do to get rid of the distractions? Can you put the phone down? Can you create the discipline to be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna give you the 15 minutes. I'm gonna let go of the emails, the text, anything that's calling my attention. And I love what you actually tell your queens is, you have to be the loudest energy in the room. Sometimes I think that when the loudest energy in the room, sometimes the phone.
It
right?
is.
Because it's constantly calling our attention.
And I think that's one of the hardest things, even for me. Like, I have to admit, like, when I get home, like, I want my downtime. I know for you, it's probably like sitting in front of the TV. But my downtime for me is just scrolling, looking at my Pinterest, making the boards, making like all these plans, shopping, going through Amazon. Like, that's my downtime. And I feel like, okay, I got this. Like, I feel decompressed. I'm not making that wrong, but it's like, how much time are you spending? If you kind of start to do this internal check-in, how much time are you spending with your phone and how much time are you spending with your spouse? And when I started to do that gut check, for me was like, oh my gosh, my phone has more attention than my spouse, then that's where I kind of have to put it down. And then physically, like, force myself to put my phone away and then go and like snuggle next to you and become the loudest energy so you could actually pay attention to me, because that's the times where you build that connection. Right?
I'll tell you something for the ladies. Ladies, don't wait for your man to make the first move, especially if you're married for a long time. You gotta also like make the move. Like you gotta get close to him. You gotta have the physical touch. For me, is my love language, right? So when you come and you hug me and you wanna be next to me, that just shows me love and appreciation.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Something else that we wrote, number 3 point that we wrote is talk about. So this is something that I feel with a business. When you are in a business, when you are this entrepreneur, you talk about what you do and not who you are. You get so caught up in the business, and this is like a love-hate relationship, because for us, like we've had this conversation, right? And men, if you could relate, like, you love your business, so you're always going to talk about it. You're so passionate about what I do. I love supporting Raul, and I love just supporting the women in my life, the queens, right? But if that's all you talk about, this is all like, this is who we are, then we forget about like, who are you as a couple? Who are you as a person? Are there any other interests that you have in your life? And that's when you feel like, well, maybe all we are is the business.
I say, and it's at the beginning, when you're building your business, when you're starting your business, it's exciting, right? You want to talk about the business, you want to talk about like this and that, but then as you grow older in the business, eventually the business will drain your energy. So you have to have other interests. You have to have other conversations. It can't just be about what are we doing in the business. It has to be, what is the business doing for us?
Oh, I love that.
What is the business doing for us? Because what I tell my guys all the time is that your job as an entrepreneur is to paint the picture for your partner, for your woman. Because the more clarity you have into what the business is doing for us, then if I'm out there hustling, making things happen, working 100 hours a week, you understand there's a deeper why. You understand, and you actually see that there is a purpose and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, not just ever-consuming energy out of a relationship.
And then it goes back to us having this clear communication, because I remember like time and time again, you'll come back and you tell me like, hey, listen, like, I love my business, I love what I do, and I love to be out there, but you are the most important thing in my life. And at the beginning, maybe like I felt like, well, he's just like bullshitting me, like, But I truly, truly, deeply felt that, like, I know I am important. I am an important part of your life because you show me that. So one thing is you saying it, and another one is you showing me. And I think that's super important for men to do and to understand this. And if women, if you are in this place, actually giving yourself permission to feel that, because if he's telling you that, it's for a reason. He may not show you to his full potential, but just believe him. And the more that you believe it, then the more it's like, okay, well, I am a priority. He does love me. He is doing this for me. How can you as a woman ask him to show you in a better way?
And the best way to do it is to recognize when the man is appreciating you, or when you feel that you are important, to let him know, thank you for making me feel this way. Thank you for doing this. That's where you do the best for me, because that makes me want to do even more. It's just the recognition. What a lot of women do instead is just constantly beat the man down because he's not doing it, and all of a sudden he doesn't feel like doing it because he can never win.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to train your partner with recognition.
And that was my next point, like the one that I wrote down, like why do couples really drift apart is because there is less appreciation that you show each other in the relationship. There's less, I would say, maybe respect. There's less recognition of who you are in the relationship individually and together. And this is something like I hear again and again with women. It's like, I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel like he recognizes who I am and what I do in the relationship. And I am his number one cheerleader. But I just don't feel like I'm being recognized. And that's, it always goes down to like that power play of like, am I being really recognized? Am I being appreciated for everything that I am in this relationship? And that in itself goes such a long way. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we drift apart.
And the biggest challenge that entrepreneurs have is showing appreciation. Why? Because nobody's appreciating us. We don't need appreciating. Like who's cheering for the CEO? Who's cheering for the entrepreneur? Who's cheering for the guy? Nobody's cheering for us. So because we don't need it, we feel like other people don't need it as well.
Well, but if you are in this couple's, in the relationship like this, I feel like the women that are married to, someone like you, we are cheering you on. We are your number one cheerleader.
But that's the difference. Sometimes we think that we don't need it, and that's why we don't give it to you, because we think that we are the same, right?
You're not expecting
that.
But
one of the things that I've learned is that the reason I wasn't appreciating other people is because I wasn't appreciating myself. I wasn't appreciating the things that I was doing. I don't look back and see how far I've come. I'm always looking up front, saying how far I have to go. And that's the curse and the gift of the entrepreneur. The curse is that we always are looking for the next level. But the gift is that we're going to do more than the average person. Why? Because we're always looking for the next level.
You're right.
Once I understood that I have to appreciate the level that I'm in right now, I have to appreciate how far I've come in order for me to share the appreciation, because I cannot give what I don't give myself. So then I start appreciating, man, like I do a lot. And then from that place, I appreciate what you do, I appreciate what the team does, and then the appreciation comes from the top down. And people start recognizing that you actually care.
But now you saying that out loud, it's almost like we as women also need to appreciate ourselves and what we do in the relationship. Because for a lot of the women that I speak to, including myself, it's like I know how much I do. And I always tell women this, it's like, take inventory of what you do at the end of the night. Instead of having this whole to-do list, take an inventory of all the things that you have done and just put your hands on your heart, and then you'll be amazed at the end of the night. So it's like you showing yourself appreciation, then maybe you could be that mirror for your husband, and he'll end up showing you the appreciation that you already feel inside.
Because you can't give what you don't have.
Oh, I love that.
And I think that if we just become more mindful of how we're treating our partner, especially as an entrepreneur, if you make your partner your number one customer, you're never going to be out of business, because you're always going to be appreciated. They're always going to feel love at the same, and they're never going to look for another business other than yours.
You're right. And then I would just add to that, like, I think right now, like, we are in this era where we're thinking like it has to be something extravagant, and you're comparing yourself to the people out there taking trips and going on boats and getting this extravagant gifts and doing all these things. I would say the most meaningful, the most loving gifts that you could give each other are the ones that you really take the time, think it through from your heart, and you give it to them. The simplicity is in the giving, and in the receiving. And don't get me wrong, I loved expensive gifts. I loved all of that extra stuff. But I think the ones of you asked me, like, what are the most significant gifts that I've received from you has definitely been ones of quality time and ones that you have used your craft of love making to do this little things for me. And I've cherished that, right? Because I feel the love. So go back to the simple things of life and do those things, because I think we get caught up in like, how does it have to look? And we don't get it done because you feel like you don't have time or you don't have like the resources to get out and do that now. But if you do them, it'll come together and you'll be like, I'm so glad I made that happen.
Beautiful, beautiful. So with that
Yeah.
said, have a great Valentine's Day. We'll see you in the next episode of Ignite Your Passion podcast. Learn it,
Live it, experience it. Love
Love
life. Welcome to Ignite Your Passion podcast. My name is Vivian Villacis.
I'm my name is Raul Villacis, and in this podcast, we're going to help you ignite your passion in your business, in your marriage, and in your life.